Chase Sapphire Reserve just increased their annual fee, and it's going to come into effect, I think, October 26th. Is it 2025 or 2000 something? But we'll figure that out later. Interestingly, it increased from $550 to $795, and a lot of you are wondering whether or not it's worth it. Fun fact, I have been with Chase Sapphire before the Reserve when they just launched the Preferred, and I jumped right over to Reserve because I knew it was a good deal. And I've been a member since. It was less than $550 actually. It was around 300 something, maybe even 400 back in the day. And they had that $300 travel credit, so it was a huge deal. And over time, they just blew up, word of mouth. People started realizing that that's a good deal, and it really stems from that $300 travel credit. I have the MX Platinum. I also use the Capital One as well. And I think overall, I stuck with Chase because, when you think about airlines, let's talk about airlines for an example. We normally find these flights and we book it. But one thing that we don't realize is that the amount of flights that we've taken over our lifetime, if we just stuck to one carrier, we would be like this presidential ultimate, person, right? And then every time you fly, you get an upgrade. So that's sort of how a lot of business travels work, is that the company is partnered with someone who's partnered with this airline, and every time they book, they always book to the airline. Therefore, you travel enough to gain this status, and every time you go onto that flight, you will become this status person, they'll upgrade you, things like that. And so for me, I didn't do that with flights. And so I don't have any status, although I did at one point during my career, but I want to stick with that on credit cards. And so Chase is sort of what I'm sticking with. And so even without thinking about their increase, I've decided that I'm going to stay with them because I don't want to break that loyalty, right? And then, now they've become this American Express Platinum competitor. And so the question is like, which one should I keep? Should I do both? Because they do have different benefits. One thing I've noticed about American Express Platinum is that they are great in terms of lounges. All the Centurion lounges, even you can go into Delta Lounge if you didn't know, if your flight is on that same day and you have an American Express Platinum card. But this video is really about breaking down whether or not the Chase Sapphire Reserve is worth it for you. There's a lot of videos out there that just sort of tells you it comes with XYZ, this and that. But what they don't do is they don't actually break it down and show you and give you a worksheet on whether or not it is actually worth it for you. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to do a live worksheet of these benefits to see that if it really does make sense. All right, let's begin. All right, let's begin. So this is the Chase newsletter or article about the upgrade, and it explains everything that they are going to offer. But one thing they didn't do is break down how you're going to get that credit. And for some reason, a lot of other sites have it. So it makes me wonder whether they're partnered with them. And the question is, how did they get that information? But let's begin. So they advertise that there's $2,700 when it comes to these benefits. And the annual fee is $795. So let's say $800. So so what they're saying is that you have about $1,900 worth of benefits, free money, whatever you want to call it, right? And so let's calculate that because we're not going to end up using it all. The question is, as long as we use $800 worth of benefits, that is going to make our decision on whether or not the card is worth it. And I think the one thing to note is that This card is really applicable to people who like to travel, people who like to go out to eat at restaurants, and then potentially people who like to go out and book through these 4 or 5 star resorts, hotels that they offer through their site. And just so you know, American Express does the same thing. So Chase is kind of really trying to become the next competitor, the direct competitor of American Express Platinum, because they're also, I think, $795 per year or something up there. So let's begin. The number one most important thing is that they have a travel credit of $300. And now let's go $795. Let's go $795 as a total. Maybe we'll do some calculation, right? To see whether or not. So really we're looking at 500. Are we gonna cover that 500? Okay. So they start explaining that you get different multiplier if you book through their travel purchases, travel portal. So what this is basically if you book flights, if you pay on their travel portal, so you have to log on to Chase, go to the benefits, and then launch up this travel portal. You look up for flights, look up hotels, and you actually have to pay through it. If you pay through it, you get a higher multiplier, and that multiplier gets you more points, and then that point would get you more value when you go redeem it in the portal. So even though these are benefits, these are intrinsic value. And because it's harder to calculate, let's just ignore that for now, okay? And then we'll jump into the ones that are actual dollar signs that's easier to calculate. So the first one is the 500 annual edit credits over their collection of hotel partners. So even though it's 500, we need to actually know what the breakdown is. How much are you gonna give me per month, per quarter, right? Because they're not gonna give you all $500 up at once. So I found a site, of course, the points guy, and he basically said it's 2 biannual credits. Okay, what does this mean? This means that in order for you to get this 500, you have to stay at one of their one of their partner hotels. And those hotels are not cheap, right? They're at least $400 or $500 a night. So you're looking to spend at least $500 on this trip to get the $250. Does that make sense? So let's put that here anyway, right? Because it's biannual, we then need to figure out, okay, then we need to break it down into months, right? 12 months. September, October, November, December. And the travel credit is 300. You can actually redeem that all at once. So let's keep it under a month. What we're trying to calculate is whether or not we'll be able to use the accumulation of these funds to 795. And so this is hotel edit, the edit, and 250 biannual, which means every 6 months. So let's say 250, and then the 7th month is 250, right? Now next is, let's see, this is again points boosts. So different type of ratios and rates if you earn before a certain date. This is too much, right? So we're gonna ignore that. Complimentary IHG 1 rewards platinum elite status. So IHG is a hotel group, right? And so when they say is complimentary elite status, what happens is you just basically sign up for an account, you tie it to your Chase credit card points, and then you get, what do they call it? Elite status? Platinum elite status. So let's look at this. Platinum elite. Okay, what do you get? Earn 60 points, no blackout rewards. Points don't expire. Member rates, member promotions, 5-star. Hotel, guarantee room, free internet, complimentary upgrade. Let's see, 2 p.m. Okay. So honestly, you don't get much. Like, it's great, but it's not mind-blowing, right? Hertz reward. So, you know, one of the challenge with this is that this is nice when you book a hotel that is IHG, under IHG. And the challenge is that you're not going to be traveling everywhere to get this IHG benefit as well as using the elite credit, right? So on average, let's say we travel once every quarter, that's 4 times a year. So this card sort of pigeonholes you into maximizing these benefits, right? And so I wouldn't count this, even though sure it's nice to have. It's if you do book through here, yes, you'll get a complimentary upgrade if it's available, right? And that's basically it. So I wouldn't even count this as anything. Just a nice to have. Now, then we move on to the travel credit. This is the best thing because it lowers everything, right? So this applies for parking. If you're gonna book a flight within a year, use this card. And then if you use this card, it'll automatically deduct it. So that's great. You have the global entry, TSA PreCheck. Let's see, let's put that here. Global entry. Okay, so that's $120 for every 4 years, right? Now, that is interesting because once you have it, you're not using it again. So if it's your first time using this card and you don't have TSA PreCheck and global entry, then this might help offset that on your first year. But then you don't need to use it until every 4 years. So that's why this one is kind of interesting, weird, whatever you want to call it. And I'm kind of putting it out in the March area, just so that it's kind of like, hey, we're not using this as much. On top of that, I've had TSA PreCheck global entry for a while, and I actually got the American Express card. They have Clear. Clear is way better than TSA PreCheck because now almost everyone with this card or any other card has TSA PreCheck. So when I go to the airport, there's a line in the TSA PreCheck and it gets so annoying. So that's where the American Express comes in, and Clear is much better because there's no queue on the Clear side of things, and they walk you up to the front. So anyways, I divulge. Let's get back into it. Access to Chase Sapphire Lounge. Now this is great because because this is arguably one of the best lounges out there right now, because all the other ones just sort of lost its quality over time. Problem is, I don't have access to it. I'm in LA, I'm from Boston, and they built their first lounge in Boston, so I'm really pissed about that. I mean, I love the fact that it's there, but I can't take advantage of it. And even when I'm there, you have to have a flight that is either in Terminal B or C. And it's like, come on. So this is hard to calculate in terms of value, but the thing about the lounges is that every time you're there, you basically eat a nice full meal, you get a drink or two. So this does add up as long as you maximize your intake of food when you're at the lounge, because you're gonna end up buying something. If you're not at the lounge, you might end up buying something, food from the airport or water, drinks or whatever. Even filling your water bottle at the lounge is what I do versus like outside of the lounge. So there is intrinsic value here. I'm gonna put this here and as like a reminder to be like, oh, okay, maybe I will travel once a year and then go to a lounge, and then maybe I will eat up basically like $50 worth of meals, right? So let's just keep that in mind. Complimentary access to reserve travel designers. I've never used this before, but what this tells me is that they're gonna help you book a trip, but it's through all their network, so it's not gonna be cheap in terms of what they choose, right? So I probably use it once or twice, but at the end of the day, unless you're looking for something that's like, you know, a nice planned trip that is not relatively affordable, then sure, right? But otherwise, let's keep it out of this spreadsheet and look for the dollar signs, the actual dollar signs. Most comprehensive suite travel protection available. Primary car insurance, trip cancellation. Okay, this is great when something happens, but there's no hard dollar sign. When it comes to insurance, you're looking at a couple bucks to buy it. Maybe, you know, sometimes you see that Alliance, $20. But it does help, right? I went to Puerto Rico, they lost my luggage, and then they gave me like a $150 fund to buy necessities. But the annoying thing is like there's just nothing, you're buying like a travel t-shirt, right? That's just Puerto Rico on it. But anyways, keep that out. Dining experience. There's a new 300 annual dining credit through their Chase Sapphire Reserve exclusive tables. American Express also has this, so they're kind of copying it right now. But what does it break it into, right? It is annual dining credit. Again, 150 biannual credits automatically applied. So, number one, you have to go to these restaurants. When you go there, you basically have $150 off. And so, let's do this. We're open table. 350, 150, and 150, right? So now let's move on. You have a 250 annual value through Apple TV, Apple Music. What's the breakdown? I don't like how the Chase Media doesn't break it down, and I'm like, how did these guys find it, right? So 250 annual statement, one-time activation per service is required through Chase. So it doesn't tell you, it must 250 for Apple TV and Apple Music. My assumption is that they're going to split that into two. So you're looking at 125. 125 each divided by 12, you're looking at $10 each. So let's do that, right? This is only good if you don't have Apple TV and you want it, or you have it and you're willing to go over. And I'm going to make this assumption. So it's about $10 a month for both. About $240, right? That's fine. So let's do that, and then we'll figure out whether or not we will utilize this, right? So let's go to sum, and then let's go down like this, right? $300 annual StubHub credit on concerts and events. There's a catch. So it is split into 150 biannual, which means StubHub or Viagogo. So again, this card is for the extroverts, right? StubHub and Viagogo. So it's biannual, right? 150, is that right? 150 biannual credits, which means they'll credit you after you activate. Let's see, 120 annual Lyft app. So where's the Lyft? Maybe we'll go through here, right? Or Lyft. 120 in annual Lyft app credits up to $10 to see. $10 per month, 120. So you're looking at Lyft, right? So this assumption is correct. because this is kind of how they do it. Because here's the thing. Does it roll over, right? Does this roll over? We don't know, which means you might have to use it in that month. And if you're gonna, this is only good if you're going to use Lyft at least once a month, right? American Express has Uber. So now you're kind of like, which one do I need to use? But the Lyft, this is a credit. They also have this Lyft Pink priority. That is actually pretty nice, but it is like a 2-3 year membership that it's going to end up being canceled. $300 annual monthly DoorDash promos and complimentary Dash Pass worth $120 annually. So let's look at the DoorDash one here. 120. So 300 annual monthly, $5 restaurant promo, and $300 annually and monthly DoorDash promotions. So what is this? 15 times 12, 180 plus 120 on every day essential each month. Again, does this expire? My assumption is yes, right? So let's do restaurant promo and then $10 promo. So DoorDash restaurant promo is $5, and then DoorDash, what is this called? DoorDash restaurant promo essentials 10, and DoorDash membership annual membership 120, because these all equal 180, right? Yep. So that's 300 right there. Okay. 10x points on Peloton. If you have Peloton, it's great, but otherwise, negligible. Peloton. 120 annual credits, 10 per month through December. So, yep, 10 times 10 is 120. Let's go through like this. Peloton. Okay. Now, premium benefits unlocked if you spend $75K. If you spend $75K, then this $800 per month is nothing to you. So you don't need to look at this at all. And then they have the business one. So let's not look at the business one because we're really more focused on the consumer facing one. Okay, so we kind of have, let's look at the sum of this, all right? Let's do $. So what did it say, 2,700, right? 2,700 over 2,700. This calculations is we're about 500 off, and we did what do we do? We did leave out some stuff, right? And so let's look at this. The question is, are we going to utilize most of these things, right? Let's say, let's freeze this. View, actually 790. Let's put this down here. Let's delete the row. Let's say benefits, and then total. $795. What do I do with that number? Okay. Travel. So $795. Let's do this. So the question is, if I use this, how do I? So I'm basically gonna copy the ones I use, and then let's say, this is hard to do, so let's skip that. Oh, it's the lounge that maybe it's the 500. Oh, so maybe, well, I traveled all year last year and I didn't even use lounges. It's not even available. So open table, we will take advantage of because that's easy to do, right? And Apple TV, I would like to subscribe, or, you know, actually I technically share an account right now. Ooh, that's good. Actually, why did this double? Oh, it's a Samsung. So let's do, here we go. We're gonna paste stripping the format. StubHub, oh, okay, This is tough, but I'd say it will force you to go to a concert if you have 150. So I think I would probably use this. Lyft, I will use, but probably, I will probably use Lyft, but let's say you just use it half the time, right? And then well, the thing I hate about these is like, you have, in order for you to justify the worth, you have to use it, okay? So let's see how much this adds up. Yeah, so just this alone technically makes it worth it. You see? So if we do $7.95 minus that, you're looking at $4.95. And the question is, does this add up to $4.95? And it seems like it does, right? If you go out to, even if you just go to the restaurant and subscribe to Apple TV, you're looking at about a $50 membership that will allow you to use the points in the portal to book a flight that's worth more just having this Chase Reserve. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it is a lot and it does force you to use certain things, but that might not be a bad thing, right? Because it allows you to enjoy a higher benefit, whether you're at a lounge, at a hotel or a restaurant, just by owning that credit card. And so, yeah, take a look at this. I'm gonna share this spreadsheet in the comments or the description below. And let me know what you think, whether or not you're gonna get it. And I'm also gonna add a link to the credit card. So if you decide to open it and you find this video helpful, please use that link because it will get you extra points as well as me extra points. Yeah, so that was a lot easier than I expected. So I'm gonna make this a little prettier, but I hope this is helpful. Let me just double check if there's anything else. No, I think that's about it. All right, until next time, thank you so much. $195 per authorized user. It's not bad, $195 to get the same benefits. Yeah, so if you have a husband and wife situation, daughter, son, whatever, right? That is a lot. Hold up, if you pay $195 annual fee for authorized, do they use the same card? I think they use the same card. Okay, so then they can then use up your benefits as well. So you're combining those benefits. It's not that they get a separate amount of benefits, right? Yeah. All right, so here it is. And I'm going to do something where you just simply click yes or no, and then that will then calculate here. But you gotta check it out by clicking the link below. See ya, peace, bye.